Welcome back to Easy English Talk podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Easy English Talk podcast. It's so good to have you here with us today. Hi, Priya. How has your day been so far?
Hi, Ryan. It's been really good. Thank you for asking. I've been working on a few small tasks this morning, and it feels great to check them off one by one. How about you?
That's wonderful to hear. My day has been similar, actually, just staying focused on little things. And to everyone listening right now, we'd love to know where you're joining us from today. Are you listening at home, at work, or maybe while traveling?
Yes, please let us know in the comments below. We're always so curious to learn where our listeners are and what brings them here. It really helps us connect with you better.
And we also want to ask you something important. Is this podcast helping you improve your English and grow as a person? We truly hope it is, and we'd love to hear your feedback.
Absolutely. Your thoughts mean so much to us. Please take a moment to share what you think in the comments. We read every single one and learn from your experiences.
Today we are discussing why small wins matter more than grand plans. And we think this topic is going to really change how you think about your goals and daily progress.
This is such an important conversation, Ryan. So many people start their journey with huge dreams and big plans, but then they feel stuck or overwhelmed very quickly. Have you noticed that too?
I have, and it's something almost everyone experiences at some point. We set these massive goals, like learning a new language perfectly in 3 months or completely changing our lifestyle overnight. But then reality hits, and we struggle.
Exactly. And that's where the real problem begins. When we focus only on the grand plan, we forget about the small steps that actually get us there. The big picture looks exciting, but it doesn't show us what to do today.
That's such a clear way to explain it. People get inspired by the end result, but they don't create a path made of small, realistic actions, so they feel lost even though they have a goal.
And when they don't see immediate progress toward that huge goal, they lose motivation. They think they're failing, even though they might actually be moving forward slowly. It's just hard to see it when the goal feels so far away.
This is exactly why so many people give up on their goals within the first few weeks. The gap between where they are and where they want to be feels too big, and they don't know how to bridge it.
Right, and this happens in language learning all the time. Someone decides they want to become fluent in English, which is a beautiful goal, but fluency feels like this distant, almost unreachable thing when you're just starting out.
It does, and that's because fluency is not something you wake up with one day. It's built through thousands of small moments, small conversations, and small improvements. But most learners don't realize that at first.
They don't, and so they create pressure for themselves. They expect to sound like a native speaker after a few months of study, and when that doesn't happen, they feel disappointed or even embarrassed.
And that disappointment is really dangerous because it makes people want to quit. They think the problem is with them, but actually the problem is with how they define success from the beginning.
That's such an important point, Ryan. Success shouldn't only be measured by the final goal. It should be measured by the progress we make every single day, even if that progress feels small.
Exactly. And that's where small wins come in. A small win is any little achievement that moves you forward, even just a tiny bit. It could be learning 5 new words, having a short conversation, or understanding a podcast episode.
And the beauty of small wins is that they're achievable. They don't require you to be perfect or to have everything figured out. You just need to take one small step and celebrate it.
That celebration part is really important too. When you recognize your small wins, you train your brain to associate effort with reward. You start to feel good about the process, not just the outcome.
Yes, and that feeling is what keeps you going. It creates momentum. One small win leads to another, and then another. And before you know it, you've made real progress without feeling overwhelmed.
And this applies to everything in life, not just learning English. Whether you're building a career, improving your health, or developing a new skill, small wins are the secret to long-term success.
Absolutely. Because grand plans can actually work against us if we're not careful. They can make us feel like we need to do everything at once, and that's just not realistic or sustainable.
Right. And when we try to do too much too quickly, we burn out. We get tired, frustrated, and we lose the joy that made us start in the first place. Small wins protect us from that burnout.
They do, because small wins allow us to pace ourselves. We can stay consistent without exhausting ourselves. Consistency is much more powerful than intensity when it comes to building lasting change.
That's a great way to put it. A lot of people think they need to work harder or push themselves to the limit, but really what they need is to show up regularly with small, manageable efforts.
Exactly. And showing up is half the battle. When you commit to small daily actions, you build a habit, and habits are what carry us forward, even when motivation fades.
That's so true. Motivation comes and goes, but habits stay. And habits are built through repetition of small actions, not through one big dramatic effort that we can't maintain.
Right. So if someone wants to improve their English, they shouldn't aim to study for 5 hours one day and then nothing for the rest of the week. That's not going to create a habit.
No, it won't. But if they study for just 15 or 20 minutes every single day, that becomes a habit. And that habit will bring them much closer to fluency than any single intense study session ever could.
And those small daily sessions add up in ways we often underestimate. If you learn just 5 new words a day, that's 35 words a week and over 1,800 words a year.
Wow, when you break it down like that, it really shows the power of consistency. 1,800 words is a huge vocabulary boost, and it all started with just 5 words a day.
Exactly. And this principle applies to everything. Small actions repeated over time create massive results. It's like compound interest, but for your personal growth.
I love that comparison. Just like money grows slowly with compound interest, your skills and knowledge grow slowly with small daily efforts. You might not see the change today, but over months and years, it's incredible.
And this is why patience is so important. We live in a world that celebrates overnight success and quick results, but real growth almost never happens that way.
That's true, and social media makes it worse. We see people's highlight reels and think they achieved everything easily or quickly, but we don't see the years of small wins that got them there.
Exactly. And that creates unrealistic expectations. People compare their beginning to someone else's middle or end, and then they feel like they're not good enough or not making progress fast enough.
But if they shifted their focus to their own small wins, they'd realize they're actually doing great. Progress is personal, and it should be measured against where you were yesterday, not where someone else is today.
That's such an empowering mindset, Ryan. When you compete with yourself instead of others, you take control of your journey. You define what success looks like for you.
And that definition of success becomes healthier and more realistic. Instead of saying, I want to be fluent in 3 months, you say, I want to improve a little bit every day.
And that shift in language changes everything. It removes the pressure and replaces it with curiosity and self-compassion. You're no longer judging yourself harshly. You're just focusing on growth.
Growth is really the perfect word here, because that's what small wins represent. They represent growth, not perfection. And growth is something we can achieve every single day.
Yes, and when we chase growth instead of perfection, we enjoy the journey so much more. Perfection is exhausting and impossible, but growth is exciting and endless.
So let's talk about how to actually create and recognize small wins in daily life. The first step is to break down your big goal into smaller, specific actions.
Right, so if your big goal is to speak English fluently, you need to ask yourself what fluency actually means to you. Does it mean having conversations confidently, understanding movies, or expressing your thoughts clearly?
Good point. Once you define what fluency means, you can identify the small skills you need to build. Maybe it's improving your listening, expanding your vocabulary, or practicing pronunciation.
Exactly. And then you break those skills down even further. For example, improving listening could mean watching 1 English video a day or listening to a podcast episode 3 times a week.
And those are specific, achievable actions. They're not vague or overwhelming. You know exactly what you need to do, and you can measure whether you did it or not.
That measurability is key. Small wins need to be clear enough that you can recognize when you've achieved them. Otherwise, you might accomplish something and not even realize it.
Right. And when you don't recognize your progress, you miss the chance to feel good about it. And feeling good about your progress is what motivates you to keep going.
So at the end of each day, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, what small win did I achieve today? Maybe you learned a new phrase, or maybe you understood a conversation better than before.
Even if the win feels tiny, acknowledge it. Write it down if that helps. The act of noticing and celebrating your progress strengthens your commitment and builds confidence.
And confidence is everything when it comes to language learning. If you believe you're improving, you'll take more risks, like speaking up in conversations or trying new vocabulary.
Absolutely. And those risks lead to even more growth. So small wins don't just build skills. They also build the courage and confidence to use those skills in real situations.
That's such an important connection. Skills without confidence don't get used. But when you celebrate small wins, you develop both the ability and the confidence to move forward.
Now let's talk about another reason small wins matter. They help us stay flexible and adapt when things don't go as planned. Grand plans, on the other hand, can be rigid and fragile.
That's so true. When you have a huge, detailed plan, any disruption can throw everything off. Life is unpredictable, and if your plan doesn't allow for that, you'll feel defeated when things change.
But when your focus is on small wins, you can adjust easily. If you miss a day, it's not the end of the world. You just focus on today's small win and keep moving.
Exactly. And that flexibility is what makes progress sustainable. You're not tied to perfection. You're just committed to doing something small and meaningful whenever you can.
And that removes so much stress. You don't have to worry about following a perfect schedule or sticking to a rigid routine. You just show up and do what you can in that moment.
Right. And over time, those imperfect, flexible efforts add up to something beautiful. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent in your own way.
Another powerful thing about small wins is that they create proof. When you achieve something small, you prove to yourself that you're capable, and that proof builds belief.
Yes, and belief is the foundation of all growth. If you don't believe you can improve, you won't try. But every small win is evidence that you can, and that evidence is undeniable.
That's why small wins are especially important for people who struggle with self-doubt. When you doubt yourself, you need proof, not promises. Small wins give you that proof.
And as the proof accumulates, your self-doubt starts to fade. You begin to trust yourself and your ability to learn and grow. That trust changes everything.
It does, and it creates a positive cycle. Small wins build belief, belief leads to action, and action creates more small wins. It's a cycle that keeps you moving forward.
And this is very different from the cycle that grand plans can create. Grand plans often lead to pressure. Pressure leads to stress, and stress leads to giving up.
Exactly. So small wins protect us from that negative cycle. They keep the process light, manageable, and enjoyable. And when we enjoy the process, we stick with it.
Enjoyment is so underrated in personal development. People think growth has to be hard and painful, but it really doesn't. Growth can feel good when we approach it with small wins.
Absolutely. And when growth feels good, it becomes part of who we are. It's no longer something we force ourselves to do. It's just something we naturally do because we enjoy it.
And that's when real transformation happens. Not when we're forcing ourselves through a rigid plan, but when we're genuinely enjoying the journey of becoming better little by little.
So if there's one message we want listeners to take away today, it's this. Don't wait for the perfect plan or the perfect moment to start. Just focus on one small win today.
Yes, just one. It doesn't have to be impressive or life-changing. It just has to move you forward, even by the smallest amount. That's enough.
And then tomorrow, focus on another small win. And the day after that, another one. Before you know it, you'll look back and realize how far you've come.
And the beauty is that you won't feel exhausted or burned out. You'll feel energized, proud, and motivated to keep going because the process has been kind to you.
That's the power of small wins. They're kind, they're sustainable, and they work. Grand plans might look impressive, but small wins actually get you to where you want to be.
And they do it in a way that respects your time, your energy, and your life. You don't have to put everything on hold to pursue your goals. You just need to show up with small efforts.
So whether you're learning English, building a career, improving your health, or working on any other goal, remember that small wins are your best friend. Trust the process.
Trust yourself and trust that small, consistent actions will lead you to big, meaningful results. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next small step.
And celebrate that step. Celebrate every small win along the way, because each one matters. Each one is proof that you're growing and moving forward.
We hope today's conversation has helped you see your goals in a new light. Remember, progress doesn't have to be dramatic to be real. Small wins are just as valuable, if not more so.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Easy English Talk Podcast. We really appreciate you spending this time with us, and we hope you found value in our discussion.
If this episode helped you in any way, please let us know in the comments. We love hearing from you, and your feedback truly means the world to us.
And before you go, we want to remind you that we have many other helpful episodes available on the Easy English Talk Podcast channel. Each one is designed to support your English learning and personal growth journey.
So please take some time to explore our other episodes. We cover so many important topics that can help you grow, communicate better, and live a more confident life. We'd love for you to continue learning with us.
Thank you again for being part of our community. Until next time, Take care, stay curious, and remember to celebrate your small wins every single day.
Goodbye, everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode. Keep moving forward, one small step at a time.